I think Gengur's gonna take this. I've known Gengur since I started playing in EXG back in January, and he's a player that I know not to make a lot of mistakes. He's a very solid player. He brings a lot of wonky decks and a lot of like interesting deck choices or even cards to these decks, but he's one to know exactly what he's doing with those cards. So you won't see him make a lot of mistakes. Whereas JaZe, yes, he did win Season 1, but I haven't actually seen him play as much as Gengur. Gengur's been around longer, so it'll be interesting to see. I know that JaZe... How ridiculous. JaZe, starting out with the smack talk.
What's funny is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure JaZe has missed lethals in each of the seasons as well,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So right. Jay's definitely a very good competitive player, but we'll see if he can stand up to the Titan, I would say, that is Gengur. We haven't seen him win anything big, but we know he's a solid player. This might be his time. So, Aya, do you think that JaZe has what it takes? Are you on his camp? What's going on in your mind?
Well, I don't really have a choice, but I don't really have a choice. I'm just kidding. I think that JaZe can win this if I think as long as he stays solid. He has a great hand here, or well, kind of great hand. If he draws a 3, it'd be a great curve. Even if we're going second, but I feel like yeah, I think he could definitely win this game. I think he could definitely win.
Neutral Rune, definitely one of the strongest decks in the game at the moment, period. Being on the draw and on the play in this matchup, not that big of a difference. It really just depends on what Vengeance Blood plays on curve, especially if they don't have the Belphegor. We know that Gengur has the Belphegor. But this is really just like a haymaker matchup. I know I've said that before, but this is really a haymaker matchup. Like the first 3-4 turns, they're going to be somewhat impactful. A little bit less on JaZe's side because he is going second, so that Alice might not get the full value that you'd see if it was on the play with a perfect curve, that kind of thing. But it's really about those turn 4, 5, 6s that are really going to be a big role player in this game. Like who can develop the biggest board and who can develop the most threatening board state. Right.
Now, here is a question for you. If you're playing Vengeance Blood against Neutral Rune, do you play Belphegor on 4?
100%. It's not like Burn Rune where they have access to the Levi's and the piercing runes and things that can literally just end you immediately. They do have things, they have access to like Felice and Hector's, which can deal a little bit of chip damage, but they can't just like all in you from 10 to 0. Like they still have to play a few turns. So in this matchup, I really just think it's about board control. If Vengeance Blood can maintain the board post turn 4, 5, and 6, or if it hasn't won by that turn, maintain the board, then I think it has a really good chance to win because they both kind of play out after that. They both just play these big things that deal damage to their opponents and might be able to deal with the board. But whoever has the onus going into those turns is usually going to come out on top.
Alrighty. So we have JaZe taking a really long time to think about playing as Unica. Not sure why though.
I think more of the decision goes into does he attack the Urius with the Goblin or does he not? And I think that was the biggest choice there.
Well, usually, as you mentioned, the board control. Usually in this matchup, you probably want for the board, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense for him to trade into the Urius, giving Gengur like a free trade,
right?
Back into the Goblin. So I don't know if you really want to be doing that.
Especially not because you have cards like Wise Merman and Alice, which now Gengur actually plays into by allowing that to be traded up. So the Wise Merman, a perfect card to play here. Not the perfect on-curve card. He doesn't have anything else to do this turn, but at least it will get rid of the Urius, so it's not an annoying card on play anymore. And he will actually have the board with the Wise Merman. Not the sturdiest of cards, but it's something.
Oh man, 1/1s are beefy, bro.
That's so big.
So big. Gigantic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I actually don't think Gengur has an option other than to play the Belphegor this turn. He just has to, regardless if he wants to or not.
So, we definitely know Yeah, Alice is getting played here. There's no reason not to play Alice.
Yeah, if he doesn't play Alice, he's playing Faria into nothing else. So yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so
it'll pump everything. It does technically turn Hector off if he does play one of the neutral cards, but of course he has another draw step to find a neutral, so not that big of a deal.
So, for those who don't know what Belphegor actually does, when Belphegor comes into play, you will draw 2 cards, and then you will deal damage to yourself until you get to 10. So, if you are, say, at 11, you play Belphegor, draw 2, take 1. You know, if you're at 20, you'll take, 10, but still draw 2. So you always go... Right.
And if you're at 10 or less, it doesn't do any negative effect to you. So, very good card to get you into Vengeance, which is the namesake of the deck, Vengeance Blood. Basically, most of the cards in the deck operate once you're in Vengeance. So you take an aggressive roll on that to try to maintain your life total and kill your opponent before they can finish you off after you do all that damage to yourself.
Right. Now, what we can see in Gengur's hand is he has access to multiple Diabolic Drains. He has access to Sabrewer, so he's got ways of healing. He's got removal. Yeah, I think Gengur's in a pretty nice spot right now.
He's in a nice spot, but he doesn't have anything to be aggressive with. This is basically the most aggressive play that he has, and it's actually really good because there's not an easy way for JaZe to deal with this. But past this turn, it's really just, is Belphegor going to draw him into more gas? But at the moment, he has no way to actually pressure JaZe's life total, which is kind of worrisome because the longer you go against this neutral rune deck without being the aggressor, the more time they have to actually burn you out.
That is true, but, like, again, this is kind of where I was referring to before, the flexibility of Vengeance Blood. It can go hyper aggressive, it can just control the game, and against this deck, it's definitely, and by that I mean against neutral rune, it's definitely going to be controlling a lot of the game, especially with the hand he has.
Right. The hand basically precludes, I have card draw and removal spells, and that's pretty much it, so I'm not going to be the aggressor for a while. I'm just going to try to basically outvalue what you can play on your next couple turns and hope I draw into some sort of an endgame. Like Emeralda would be perfect, because he can play that in just a couple turns and then start going face while also dealing with the board. So, but his draw phases are going to be very important. If Gengur starts drawing into things like Urias's and more Angel of the Words, he's going to run into some trouble. But if he draws into things like Dark Air Jammer and big threats like Emeralda, he's going to have a really good time.
So, JaZe is taking the time to ponder what his play will be. The thing is, none of his plays are what you would call incredibly valuable.
Right.
So, him just going for the face seems fine to me.
This makes sense. I actually, you know what, this turn, because I don't think that Neutral Rune has any way to just burn you from 7, I think that Spiderweb into Belphegor, into evolving the Belphegor to go face here is the best play. It will basically refill Gengur's hand. He'll have a ward up, and he'll have 2 big followers left up. Oh, okay. Decides not to go with that plan.
Well, I'm not necessarily against this plan either. He will still play the Spiderweb Imp, so that's still good. He doesn't burn an Evo, and he can always just play the Belphegor again, like, on another turn. So,
I think preserving the Evo point is also a very good play there. Not a bad line by any means.
So, Fair is going to get evolved, traded to the Spiderweb Imp, but that's more than likely just dead. So, that Scarlet Sabrewer is just chilling on board right now.
Yep. And this is actually a lot of stats. 5 and 6 health is nothing to snuff at. Like, he's going to have to use multiple effects to kill both of these beyond the Sabrewer. So, and that's if he wants to give up the aggression that the Sabrewer presents in play. So, he might finally go for the Belphegor Evolve to finish off the 5-6, and then the Diabolic Drain with the Angel of the Word to clear off the 6-5 to keep the Sabrewer in play, which I think is super good. I think keeping that Sabrewer around is essentially just really hard for JaZe to do anything about, because he can't really evolve into it for any value.
Now, Gengur just drew into a Dark General and a Blood Wolf. So, he has Storm options in hand that he will be able to do, like, burst damage to his opponent. There is a consideration for him to... He'll probably still Evo, but he can still get damage in if he uses the Hungering Horde. Because
I
he
think
has
that's
that.
the right line. Yeah.
Oh,
He decides. Ooh. This is not the line I was expecting.
Okay, he's still evolving to Belphegor, so he's still gonna go face. He's just gonna hold the Hungering Horde, which we know will actually have value because of these areas in hand.
Double Faria, yeah. If they do get played.
Yeah.
I think the best play for him here, honestly, is just to play that Wizardess and hope to top deck something, yeah. Because he's in a tough spot here.
And
no love.
Not what you wanted to see.
Yep, and that's just not going to be good enough. He didn't have any removal for the board. He's going to evo one thing into that 6/1, and as we know, only 2 more damage is needed from Gengur, and he's got that Dark General sitting in his hand.
Yep. So, I think JaZe played this game out as well as he could have. You know, but again, Vengeance Blood being able to shift back and forth between, you know, controlling the game and then just, you know, destroying your face.
Yep, destroying your face. So realistically, what we saw that game, just to help you guys better understand it, is JaZe really didn't get the cards you'd want in the mid game, right? He didn't get his Felices to control board while also it's basically like a small Emeralda. Kills a unit, can evolve to go face and get some extra damage in. He didn't get anything to use off of his Wizardess, no Dance of Deaths, no Piercing Runes, no Mutagenic Bolts, nothing like that. So he was just kind of playing on-curve followers against a deck that was cheating things into play, such as the Diabolic Drains for 1 play point instead of 5 because he was in Vengeance, drawing a bunch of cards with multiple Belphegors. He just had a lot of options. JaZe, not so many.
Right. So we have Mid Shadow versus Neutral Rune. This matchup, you know, kind of even, right? Like, it's not
very
in
even.
any one.
This is about as even as matchups get in Shadowverse right now.
Yeah. So, JaZe has he's unfortunately on the draw again. His hand would have been way better on the play. But unfortunately, he's on the draw. But that doesn't mean that he can't somehow muster a way around.
And his hand is actually very well equipped. It looks kind of like dirtily because he's just got a lot of random 2-drops in his hand. But all of the cards in his hand have good effects. And especially good effects against Shadow, with Lyriel being able to ping, Angel of the Word being able to ping, Faria being able to pump the boards. He's got double Alice. So once he gets to play out the majority of cards in his hand over the next couple of turns, on turns, say, 4, 5, and 6, he's actually going to be able to push really far ahead here.
Mm-hmm. So JaZe's probably giving a lot of consideration to how much damage he's going to do this turn. If he's even going to do damage, he may opt to trade into the Bone Chimera and shoot one of the skeletons with Angel of the Word. Don't know why you would do that per se, other than to just get rid of the Bone Chimera. Because, as we know, that card is infuriating to deal with. And the less value you give Shadow, the better. So he's actually opting to trade with the Lurking Corpse, which is fine too.
I like this. I don't necessarily like shooting face here. I kind of rather would have seen him popping the Bone Chimera, because now Bone Chimera can get a lot more value, essentially going face and then also getting a soul conversion. And the face 1 point of damage I don't think is that big of a deal. But he opts to do it anyway.
That's fair. Well, we can see that JaZe's got double Faria in hand, so I can imagine that he will either just go for the board and just start throwing things down, or he play Alice, but I don't know if playing Alice here is the right call.
The only reason I think that Alice is the right call here is because of the amount of neutral followers in his hand. Like, the faster he plays these Alices, the faster he's going to be able to literally just outvalue what Gengur can do. So I think maybe this turn Alice, and then every subsequent turn for the next 2 turns is going to be just a smattering of a bunch of small neutral followers that are just huge and maybe hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Lyriel gonna clean up real nice.
As she does.
Yeah. Lyriel is one of those cards that you're like, okay, I have something at 1, please don't have Lyriel. Oh man, they had Lyriel.
Right.
You're like, You just feel so pained.
Like for instance, this turn, I think Angel of the Word plus Lyrial. Or actually, no, he already played Angel of the Word, so that's not an option anymore. Never mind with that play. So now that he drew Hector, he actually has a ton of different plays he can make here. They're all good. Even just the Alice here is still really good now that the board's been dealt with.
Well,
this might be a turn to get Unica down, maybe?
I don't see why he wouldn't.
Like, I wouldn't even actually mind the play of, like, Unica plus Angelic Knight, just to, like, protect the Unica, just to maybe gain those 2 health points back.
I don't know. I could see him just playing Hector here, too. Hector to take out Delirial, but he's opting to play the Alice again, which is also fine, because, again, his entire hand is neutral.
Yeah, he's basically just gonna... He's basically saying, you're not gonna be able to deal with what I'm about to do. And if he can possibly get all of these followers, like say he draws another Alice and he gets all of these followers outside of Ektar range to be killed, that would be pretty insane. And he's going to be able to do it with Fairy in hand. He's going to be able to unload a hand and basically make a board of 5/5s.
No.
Well, actually, not even just 5/5s, but like he's gonna that Alice that's in play already is gonna get pumped again. So
yeah, these are going to become monsters.
Yeah, this is big boys right here. Or girls, I guess.
Big ladies. That's right. Big ladies on
campus. We'll use a neutral word and say dudes.
Yeah,
there you go. Big dudes. Not really all that neutral, I guess. But so what? Moving on.
I still think that he has to Ektar here, though. Like, this board is so imposing. If you don't Ektar this turn, like, you're basically just asking to get beat up here.
Hey, man, maybe he likes getting beat up. We don't know.
That's true.
That's a personal issue. Okay, so... yeah, Gengur really...
Both of these players are thinkers. They both have their glasses on. They're ready to get into this. You know what I'm saying? They're, like, thinking hard about their turns, too. Not making any rash decisions here.
I don't think you can. Again, for JaZe, I believe his record is currently 2-1. You know, like, I don't think that you can just start, rushing your plays or anything like that. You really need to take time to consider what you can and can't do. Alright, so he's going to trade out the board here.
Yeah, definitely Evo that Ektar. And now he's got the board back, no Evo points left. But as we can see, Hector is going to be able to deal with this quite easily. Ooh. Or the Felice.
What of a draw, man! That was
pretty good. This allows him to be a lot more aggressive than just playing the Hector here. Felice being one of these... This is one of the reasons why people play Neutral Rune, guys. 5 play point 3/6. When it comes into play, deal damage equal to the amount of neutral cards in your hand to an enemy follower of your choice, not random. And it can evolve into a 4/7 with Storm, or if you play it for 7, it auto-evolves and gets that Storm effect. So, pretty insane card.
Oh, and he draws another Felice, dude.
Wow, I would almost just say play it and go face with both. You already have the Hector to deal some extra face damage. I don't know, though. Like, he's got so many good options here.
Well, I guess the thing is to consider the amount of... he did that.
Gengur's like, oh, come on.
I was going to say, consider how much damage could be done next turn by going face. And by that, I mean to Gengur. I'm sorry, to JaZe. JaZe would have to consider how much damage
with an Ektar play. You always have to count for Ektar damage. And at the moment, that number is 13. So technically, JaZe can go face here easily without worry. I don't think he has any way to die next turn.
Nope. I agree that he should definitely go face.
Actually, 14 if you count one of the zombies dying with the white in play. So 14 is the max amount of damage.
That's still 2 away from him actually dying.
That's true.
Sometimes you gotta walk the tightrope, man.
That's right. There he goes. I like it. I like JaZe's play here.
That is probably not what Gengur wanted to draw.
The amazing thing about these Felices is that they don't actually trigger feign to die. So that ward is not going to come into play, at least for the next turn or so. So Gengur's in a really tough spot here.
So he's got to be like, okay, I need to figure out a way to kill both of these Felice so I don't die, or be able to kill them and be able to get a ward up. But I don't think he can do all of it. Let's see. He plays Serb. Or, yeah, he would play Serb. He would have Coco and Mimi. That would leave him with 4 play points. He would be only able to take out 1.
Yep, he'd have to take out 1 and then play the Grimnir and just hope that the Grimnir survives, but we know that's not possible. So actually, from what we're seeing, Gengur's lost this one.
Yeah. It's going to take a
Those 2 Felice top decks, man. Felice is so awesome. Every time you draw that card when you're playing neutral, and you're just like, oh, yes. Feels good, man. Because, like, had he not drawn those 2 over the last 2 turns, all this damage to Gengur's face wouldn't have been there.
He's killing both. He's killing both.
Oh. Okay, so we missed that. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we actually did miss that. I miscounted by 1. Oh, well.
Okay. So did I. You know what? I'm glad to be wrong here. That means that this game's not immediately over. Perfect.
Yeah, but he does have access to this Hector. So, because he has the 3 other neutrals in hand, so he can just Hector, shoot him in the face. He's not shooting him in the face, which is fine, too. I guess that's fine. I guess he's just afraid.
I don't like that at all. This is essentially saying if you draw Ektar, I'm now behind. Or even something like a Death's Breath. Death's Breath is basically going to gum up the board. He can even Grimnir here. I mean, like, he has good options now that face damage wasn't dealt. Now there's not like a top deck option just to win other than a 3rd Felice. Unless he's playing Gilgamesh. Let me take a look here.
Oh no, he is playing Gilgamesh. We saw him playing Gilgamesh. He drew Gilgamesh last game.
Oh, okay. Alright, so he does have more options than this Felice then. Okay. Alright, makes a little bit more sense then.
Yeah, but you got Death's Breath into this White King. And then he even has the Grimnir if he wants it. Like, I don't think he's going to play that though, but...
Wow, and he drew it. Thank God for the wards.
Yeah. Wall of Ward. Doing it again.
JaZe drawing those Felices. I like it.
Yeah, he's drawing them and they're animated. That's sweet. Good job, man.
Yep.
But
not as potent this turn because it can't actually take any of the followers out. It'll only deal 2 damage to a follower at this point, so I don't think that'll be the play this turn. I think it'll be something to the effect of Lyrial and into a Wizardish just to give him the most options.
I think that should be his line. Yeah, I think that should be his line. He's got to get more cards.
Anything else here?
And
he's not running any mutagenic bolts, so there's not actually a clear way to deal with a big board like this. He does have Dance of Death in his deck as a 1-of, so that is a possibility. But other than that, it's just followers that he has to win the game with. So Gengur actually taking a little bit of an upswing here.
Well, what we can see right now is that again, currently JaZe just doesn't have it, and wow. So. Not what he wanted to draw.
Not what you want to see. Not technically bad though, because he's got a lot more value. This Grimnir though, man. Oh my goodness. This is a feels good Grimnir.
Yeah, it is. And Tempests are judging. And wow. This game went from, hey, JaZe's in a really good position to was JaZe actually going to win this game?
See, that's kind of what I was saying, right? So, like, say he had dealt the 3 damage to face instead of killing the 1 follower, which I feel like he could have dealt with regardless. He would have options to draw more cards to win the game, such as an Angel of the Word. You know, it just gives him more outs in his deck to just immediately win, or just a Dance of Death, something like that. But at the moment, now he's got to win with followers, and he will be able to take over the board a little bit here, so... This is going to be really dependent on Gengur's top decks if he can continue to push his advantage here.
Yeah. So Gengur's been top decking pretty good so far. He does have access to that Soul Squasher to kill the Felice. Not what you want to draw.
Liriel is big bricks right now.
Yeah. He's gonna definitely have to trade into that. Even if Gilgamesh comes, this game, like Gilgamesh's game over.
That's it. If he drew another Death Breath or something like that, Gengur could still maintain. But even with the Grimnir top deck, it was just he was out of options. Can't do anything about that. Had a really good game though. Definitely pushed it to the limits of what Shadow could do for quite a while.
Yep. JaZe's got a pretty pleased smile on his face, as he should.
Definitely deserves that win. Even if he did top deck 3 Felices.
He definitely did that. Yes, 2 of them in a row, mind you. He definitely did that
on curve. Even I'm not gonna slight JaZe for that. Just man, good top decks.
Hey, top decks are what make card games go round.
That's right. Without them, there wouldn't be awesome surprise factor.
Time to get started. Mother, father, come on.
And so now we have straight up beat your face in blood versus Shadow.
JaZe even taking it to the limits with cards like Dance of Death, which we normally don't see in aggro blood, but making a comeback.
And his is animated and yours aren't. So, haha.
Yeah. Keep making fun of me about him. I get it. Been playing the game for a while now. Still no animated Dance of Death. Makes me sad because it's a sweet, sweet card, and I like it animated.
It is a sweet card. There are times I actually just put Dance of Death in the deck just because it's animated.
You know, I play a lot of trash decks, I'm not going to lie, and Dance of Death finds its way into a lot of my trash decks just because I need a removal spell, and, yeah, much prefer it. But the struggles are real. It's okay. I can deal.
Alright, so, Gengar's got a pretty nice start here against JaZe's start. JaZe's start is a good start against anything other than Gengar's.
Essentially, Gengar's got the 1-2-3 defensive drops that he would want on the play in the face of Grimnir being on 3 to cap that out. Plus, he's got units that can trade with these bats. If that's what JaZe wanted to do, I don't think that's really an option anymore. So I think he's going to have to go with the Urias plan here, just because it will allow him to basically force his opponent to deal with it on his turn as opposed to going face. So basically a defensive Urias. But it's still not looking good. With that Grimnir coming out, there's not really going to be a way to force through it at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like Gengar could just ignore it and just keep going face. Ignore the Urias, I mean, if he plays it.
I don't think he will, because he's playing Shadow, and Urias is kind of annoying if you just let it stick there, because the longer you let it stick there, it feels kind of unassuming, but it will deal you some damage over time. And then when you get to the Evo turns, if you start trading out your big Evo followers for big Evo followers, and that Urias just sticks around, it just gets him so much extra damage. Oh, wow.
Right, so he's actually opting to play the Summon Bloodkin. This, I think, is fine. Not the Summon Bloodkin, I mean the free trades for Gengar. But I don't know if I agree with the Summon Bloodkin line. Now
it's actually very similar to the Urias play. Like both of the effects are a little different, other than the fact that he gets to keep an extra unit in play. So not the worst play.
Well, what I mean, well, I'm saying he could have, had another Summon Bloodkin for, maybe another Vania. He just drew one right there. It's just like you tend to want to use the majority of your stuff when you're going to do the most damage. And right now, all he's doing is preventing damage, not actually doing damage.
Essentially, what I am saying is JaZe is playing the defensive role, being the aggressive deck, which is not where you want to be at. Which is exactly where Gengar wants him to be at. Essentially, Gengar was on the play, and generally what we've seen is aggressive decks, even like mid-Shadow, even if they are a little bit more mid-range heavy, they still like to be aggro. But against Blood, you always defer to Blood being the aggro deck. And basically, you just make as many trades as you can to keep that board state low so that you can maintain board control and then get into your mid-game. Because Blood, even if it has a slow start, can still do a bunch of damage like we're seeing now.
Right. Not only that, but... you want to take out blood boards because blood boards aren't as sticky as shadows. You know, like shadows boards are like, we'll trade and we'll get like a ton of value that we can use later in the game because we have the shadow mechanic. But again, they're just not as sticky. So once you kill something on a blood board, you're not going to see it come back. And so that's one of the benefits to the way Gengur is playing right now. Playing that very, he's just playing for the, you know what, I'm not going to let you do what you want to do game.
Right. And fortunately for him, he does have another Grimnir, but that will probably get evoed into or Night Hoarded. He definitely has to take this Vanya out, otherwise more bad damage could be incoming. And he does have an O-Dial to basically keep up a clean board after this next onslaught of damage. So he's not looking terrible here. Gengur playing the match properly and has a lot of the right tools.
In this position, you generally want to be doing a lot more damage than JaZe is. With Gengur being at 14, that's the kind of damage that, you know, you'd expect him to, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the type of damage that the life total you would expect him to be at.
Now, this line of play I actually don't agree with. I think he should have played the Curse Brand Vampire and evoed that into the Grimnir. He would have dealt a little bit less damage this turn, but he would have had a much better turn next turn with the Vanya and the Night Horde. Basically dealing extra damage and maybe even potentially killing a more effective follower, such as this O-Dial.
There it is! Did you see it? He went, oh, not the O-Dial. And not only that, but he doesn't even get the big, he doesn't even get the other one because his board was full.
That's right. And now there's actually no way, oh, okay, he just top decked. A way to actually finish that O-Dial off. If that O-Dial remained in play against Blood, that would have been lights out, I think, immediately.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of looking like lights out already. But, again, he could draw a series of cards that would enable him to be able to come back.
He definitely has time.
Yeah. Ooh, Zombie Party. I actually kind of like Zombie Party. You know, kill the ward, Evo, take out, you know, something.
Yep, I like that play too. I thought Thane would have been a fine play, but yeah, Zombie Party being able to take out two things this turn a lot more effective, preventing even just that one extra damage.
Yep. So for those who don't know, Zombie Party, it deals 3 damage to an enemy follower, and if you have 7 play points, it gains Enhance, then summon 3 zombies.
This is all face mode. He's got a face.
Yep.
No options. Because if he tries to trade for board, then he's just going to fall behind, not be able to kill his opponent. So we're really just going to see if he has the 2 turns he needs, essentially, in order to top deck into 5 more damage. Because he's not going to be able to deal any damage off this board anymore.
But doesn't a Death Breath just slam the door here? I mean...
It's not bad. It's not bad.
That's the door right there, man. Just... I mean, what, are you going to draw a Hungering Horde? That's not a Hungering Horde. So...
And I doubt Agrobats is playing Hungering Horde.
Right. I mean, he can't take out... Yeah!
Oh, Gengur!
Gengur! He gave him the shrug! He's like,
Give him JaZe the shrugs.
Why the sign, though? Why the sign? Gengur 2-1 will defeat JaZe. That's exactly the prediction that you had. I think the point that you made earlier on